Hola mujeres. Happy Mother's Day. Welcome to Vinyl Junkies episode 42. Kimberly.
Hello, Jumbo.
Jam-packed episode today, and it may have already started with some technical difficulties, but we have five, count them, five winners courtesy of our friends at Vinyl Junkies, at Vinyl Me Please is what I mean. So we've been paying attention. We have a whole shit ton of records to talk about, so that'll be fun. And one thing that makes me really happy, Kim, we're going to talk about metal. King Diamond!
Fuck yeah. Love King Diamond.
So,
I think he lives here, by the way. He lives here in Dallas.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And that just makes me happier because you might have King Diamond stories, but I have King Diamond stories. So we will get our metal on and just nerd out about music during this entire time. Happy to have you along.
Thank you. So, hey, it's episode 42?
It is episode 42. You were supposed to remind me of something. Sorry, Kim. Okay, pretend you're reminding me of what you were supposed to.
Oh, hey, what about the VJ versus VMP episode?
Yes. Do you guys want to hear about good records? And it's easy to talk about them because check this out. On Wednesday, we got a show with Hessler, our regular Vinyl Junkies versus Vinyl Me Please show. And it's going to be aired 45 minutes before the store opens. Their store opens at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can make the math, whatever, but we're going to get on 45 minutes earlier and make our picks. The reason it is that I'm chuffed about this is not just, to promote the show, but because it's going to be very, very easily a great show. Dude, this is what's in the store. Fucking Ornette Coleman box set. A bunch of Nick Cave. A bunch of You Have My Notes and I Don't. What else is in there that's...
Tom Waits.
Tom Waits records.
Numero Group.
Dude. So many Madlib records. They have Stones. Next, just watch on Wednesday if you like Stones throw stuff, because there is a motherfucking extravaganza gonna happen. And if you're gonna save a bunch of money, ooh, yeah. So lots of hip hop and lots of great vinyl talk coming up on Wednesday. And you and I got a lot of records too, right?
Yeah.
What have you been listening to, Kimberly?
Oh my God. I do want to mention something that I'm not going to go into depth about, but because these showed up in my record store, and I bought all of them because this is pretty unusual. No matter how you feel about Morrissey, I got so many Morrissey 12-inch singles.
They look new.
Yeah, because the guy that sold them to us, I love him. He's a regular. I just love that guy. These two are particularly rare, and they're on purple vinyl. Anyway, I just want to mention that because my heart almost jumped out of my throat when I saw those. I could not.
You know what I need?
Anybody who's a Morrissey collector or fan will know that's a big deal. So
I'm kind of jumping a little bit because during that Smiths era, I was more of a Depeche Mode guy, and a massive hole in my collection is just Violator. I so badly need a reissue of that. I know it's been reissued, but I'm wondering if it's just the music on vinyl that did it, which would explain a lot. A lot of that stuff is Euro, and I don't know. I don't see it as much over here. It tends to be costly as well, but
I usually order it for the store, and I can't remember what label it's on.
You don't remember who did the reissue, eh? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I'd just like a nice slab, a nice presentation with good notes, and that would be kind of like just recapturing a part of my 90s because it was just that good a record. What else?
I used to talk to him.
What do you mean?
Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode.
How? Like in your own head, or?
Well, when I lived in San Francisco, from 95 to 97. I moved out there from Texas.
Sorry. move to San Francisco. Oh, do you know where that's from?
And I had this job. This guy owned a store on Haight-Ashbury that was like
Frank Zappa.
clothing, and he had tattoos and piercers, blah, blah, blah. But I managed a little warehouse that he had. We made the actual body jewelry for piercing, like in-house. We had guys that were physically making it. And Dave's wife she would order stuff and he would call, and I don't know. I used to talk to him occasionally. It's random, doesn't matter.
No, but it's good. But yeah, but it's true, eh? It's like after that, the album after that was, I think, called Songs of Faith and Devotion, if I'm not wrong. And
Yeah.
isn't that where he started getting all his piercings and stuff?
Maybe.
Because that would kind of fit.
I guess that would kind of fit.
That makes
I
me
don't
feel
know.
closer.
It was just really weird. I mean, I was such a huge Depeche Mode fan girl anyway, but he was just like, what are you doing, Kim? And I'm like, hi, Dave Gahan. Anyway, no big deal. It was not that big of a deal, but it was kind of like, what is going on in my life that I'm talking to you?
Isn't it cool?
So, yeah.
How many times
cool. I mean,
that, you see, that, when did that happen, Kim? Like what year?
It was between 95 and 97.
Okay,
That's when
so
I lived out there. So.
it is of a vintage that precedes cell phones. So what it is that you are describing here in words is the old-timey version of a selfie, because you know that, you know. What else have you been listening to? What else have you been listening to, Kim?
Okay. Hang on a second. What did I do with them?
Shit, you know. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Stereolab. The album Peng. P-E-N-G.
Writings on the wall. Is it good?
Oh, I haven't listened to this on vinyl. I don't know if I ever listened to this. Stereolab stuff is crazy hard to find in the wild, and it's pristine. It's so good. I mean, they're like, I don't know, what are they always described as? Avant pop, electronic.
I know Connected.
Stereolab is awesome. I mean, it's an old band, but yeah, I listened to this probably 3 times this week at the record store once I got it. It's so good.
I love how, in my particular case, all the stuff that I had prepared to talk about, and there's tons, or there's dozens of records to talk about. We're talking about the records I thought I wouldn't talk about, but I visited my mom and needed some retail therapy, so I went to the record store and bought a whole grip of records, including 7 new orange and black spines. So adding to the Impulse catalog was amazing, right? And I also found some acid jazz stuff. And I was huge into acid jazz back then, Kim, because it had the hip-hop part, it had jazz that I was beginning to discover, right? That was the big, like a huge jazz period for me. It had the funk that I was beginning to discover, so I was heavily into Parliament through Ice Cube and Ice-T, and all of that was just a melange. And part of that melange, from especially the UK side of things, was the acid jazz scene. And I won't buy all of it, but there's some. You know, like some of those CDs that you just want to replace. In the 90s especially, that stuff wasn't everywhere. So I happened upon this section where there were just a bunch of DJ copies, and I found a copy of a band called Brand New Heavy's Brother Sister that I used to play all the time, and a ton of Incognito records. And I had all of those Incognito records on CD. But you know, the funny thing happens is when you're replacing your CD collection, I don't know if it happened to you too, but when I replace my CD collection, I trim. So where I owned, let's say, 7 or 8 Incognito CDs, I brought it down to 1.
I never got rid of any of my CDs.
So you must be like drowning in those too?
Yeah, there's a lot. I have a lot of CDs. I have a lot. Plus, I inherited, when my best friend Hammond died, I inherited his CDs. So I've got 1,000 metal CDs from him.
Beauty.
Yeah. Well, so you trim down.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, I don't buy all of the same stuff. You know, I wind up buying only the stuff that matters most. So, I
Right.
mean, for my particular case, not to get into the Metallica argument, but, you know, the Metallica albums that matter to me the most and the ones that have impacted me the most are the first three records. And
Right.
I can't get around the production of And Justice for All. So I don't want to listen to it. I saw that tour front row center, but it's just, you know what I'm saying? It's just so,
Yeah.
whereas, to use the Metallica example, I had And Justice for All on CD, and I had the Black One, and I had a bunch of others, right? Right up
Right.
to Death Magnetic. I'm not doing the same thing when I'm replacing it on vinyl. Do you have any example like that as well?
I'm trying to think because I don't get rid of my CDs, but you know, like I
Yeah,
might
but do
have
you
a, okay, let's
replace?
say,
Do you
yeah, well,
replace?
I don't replace, but I might, like if it's a 90s band, let's say, I don't know who, that I have on CD, but I don't necessarily have on vinyl. I'm more picky about which vinyl. It's the same thing. I'm like going to be pickier about the ones that matter the most to me are the ones I'm the most interested in replacing or having on vinyl as well as CD.
Okay, so it is like you will do that whole multiple format thing, in other words, right?
Oh yeah, if it's something that I really love, I have it on CD and vinyl.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I guess that's it. There's an expenditure, right? So it's like I won't buy a bunch of stuff. So I mean, if we bring it back to the Vinyl Me Please shop, they're gonna have Temple of the Dog, which I want so much, and I
mm,
think they're gonna have Soundgarden and Bad Motorfinger, and we kind of made it so that we pick only $100 worth. Because listen, if you're gonna spend money. Sorry, but most of us aren't made of money, so you're not going to spend a ton. I figure $100 purchase puts at least 3, 4 records in your store, in your
right.
shop, you know? And it's like, when that box arrives, come on. Am I the only guy who looks at the email and looks at the tracking and just keep, you know what I mean? We all do it.
Yeah,
So
so excited.
it's a happy box, you know? It's a happy box.
It's a box of happy.
It's a box of happy. So this box of happy came through, and I'm showing it off now. I did show it off while you were talking, but I'll show it off again. What I'm showing on camera right now, Kim, is the three picture discs, King Diamond picture discs, representing his first three records: Fatal Portrait, Abigail, and Them. And it's the first time the Metal Blade is releasing these albums on picture discs. Now, I have the originals. Even when I sold my record collection, and I sold most of it, I somehow had enough foresight to keep my original Kiss records, and I don't even remember what it was, but something told me to hang on to the first three King Diamond records. So as I got these as promo, and these are coming out, these picture discs are coming out only on Friday, this Friday coming. They sent me the only three of the records of which I own the originals.
You already have, so you
I
got dupes.
But I have news, and I can provide a fair review. When we did the RSD show, you remember me ripping into picture discs, right? Because there
Right.
was, what was it, a White Snake one that just sounded horrible. I'm very weary of picture discs, very weary of picture discs. And when I get to this, you know, you want to do right, and I can talk about the music all day long because I have them, but I played them and they sounded good. As a matter of fact, I'll even go one step further, right? In the case of especially Abigail and Them, I was one of those guys that used to travel on the bus to get to school, and it used to take me an hour and a half to go to school and an hour and a half to come back home or go to work. I used to spend about 4 hours a day easily on public transit. That meant a lot of music,
Yeah.
right? So I had a backpack full of either CDs or mixtapes, and I'd listen to some stuff over and over again. Now, you best believe those King Diamond albums were in there. And I put on these picture discs, and it's the first time I can say this. I heard parts. It was dynamic. First of all, you know picture discs, how when you drop the needle very often, the minute you drop the needle, they already start shh. They already have this whoosh on them, which tell you that it's already recorded on garbage kind of thing. They already sound bad. Not this. These picture discs are whisper quiet. And I'm not a fan of picture discs, but they're whisper quiet. Then, the other thing that surprised me was, I can say I've listened to Abigail hundreds of times. I heard Dynamics that for the life of me, I don't remember. And I've listened to it on CD, I've listened to it on every format, and I just heard things that I don't hear. And you know how it is when it comes to records you've listened to hundreds of times, right? It's muscle memory. It doesn't matter if you've never listened to it in the last 20 years, you don't forget it.
That's why I can recite every Duran Duran lyric.
I completely understand.
Yes. Yeah, you totally, wow. You know, that's like those Twin Peaks soundtracks from RSD.
Yes, they sounded good.
Holy shit, they sound so good. Like, better than any picture. Oh my God, they're good.
So there's a difference. But the thing is that I don't know the difference of who makes good picture discs and who doesn't.
I don't either. We need to research on that.
Either that or I'm talking out of my ass and I'm just making it up as I go along. I'm not, listen, I'm not... I love music. I'm not an audiophile. I love music. It's just, I know that when you drop the needle on a picture disc and it starts already, it sounds like shit.
I think that, both of us have been at collecting vinyl for 40 years. We know about the picture discs. I mean, I've always avoided them because they sound like shit. The only ones I bought were like some David Bowie interview ones for collectible to have, not to listen to.
Exactly.
Shit. But those Twin Peak ones and then these King Diamond ones, somebody has upped their technology game something with picture discs. So I might start paying a little more attention. I wonder how those Cure picture discs sound.
If I have them, I'll tell you about them. And look, I'm not going to bullshit. If it sounded bad, I would have told you. But the thing with King Diamond is my favorite album from King Diamond happened right after these three. It's Conspiracy.
Okay.
Now, that record
forever.
blew my motherfucking mind, and it still does. Okay, and I saw that tour, and I was heavily into all of it. But there was something about Conspiracy. There's a song right at the end. The last song is an instrumental, I believe, called Cremation. Dude, I listened to this thing so many times. It was one of those repeat things all the time. I liked it so much because it was just evil. Evil in that King Diamond way. Yeah. So I already was super chuffed, and these were my, the height of my concert going days. I go to the I go to that tour, to the Conspiracy tour. Doesn't he end the concert? Small little club, Le Spectrum here, okay? So 1,000 people, something like that. Doesn't he end the fucking show? Okay, besides doing a full-on King Diamond show in, his 80s glory at tip top in a club. Dude, the way he ends his show is with this song called Cremation, where he enters this coffin, or they just do this thing with this coffin, and the coffin just fucking breaks out into flames, and he disappears into this flaming coffin. And it's like, oh, shit. It's like, you just I got fucking goosebumps. Dude, I got goosebumps, okay? You just took my favorite King Diamond moment and blew my mind away. And it's still, to this day, one of the most vivid concert memories and just something I'll never forget. And I think that's why King Diamond still has a rabid following, because that fucker still brings it. He still puts on the makeup and he still has that falsetto. You know what I'm saying?
Man, talk about a guy that could sing. Oh my God, that guy's voice is like otherworldly.
Sleepless nights! Sleepless nights! And the thing is that the first three King Diamond records also, you should know, have Mickey D on them, who went on to drum for many, many years in Motorhead. So before Mickey D was in Motorhead, he was with King Diamond, and that's where it started. And he's got these really lovely locks, but he is a massive drummer, just a massive, massive drummer. And I have news. I do have news. I'll close it soon. It's big. It's breaking news. These picture discs are coming out on May 19th, and the only reason I'm telling you is because I like them that much. But I kept talking about how much I want Conspiracy. This is the breaking news. These are part of a series which can be picked up individually, but the next three are what it is that I'm showing here, which is Conspiracy is coming out, The Eye, and I believe a live record. So there is another three King Diamond records coming out in June. So those of you that kind of like, you know, the collector nerds who like picture disc stuff, you'll see the first three come out Friday. The next three, there's another three coming out in June, and I'll tell you about them.
Do you get that from Metal Blade?
I get that through I get that through.
But if I wanted to order it, would I go to Metal Blade to get it?
You can get it through Metal Blade. You can get it at independent shops. You can get it at Pop Market. I'm sure they'll have it. But it's like, you know, it'll be all pre-order stuff. But yeah, you can get it through all of that. We're still working pretty closely to try to cement a proper relationship with the labels to show them. And it's like, guys, we talk about the records because we get excited about them. It makes sense for you to send us the advanced copies, you know? So, yeah.
Speaking of advanced copies, I think this releases tomorrow. Also, guys that went on to play in other bands.
Okay.
I got this from Org.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Red Cross, Third Eye.
How is it?
Okay. It's been a long time since I'd heard this, and it is very 90s doing 70s pop. It's straight up like 70s retro pop done in that 90s style. You guys know those bands. There was a million of them. But, okay. The thing about Red Cross, and it's fun. I mean, this is a fun summer bubblegum poppy kind of record.
Good.
I highly recommend that you guys go and watch the video for, what was it, Annie's Gone? That was their big one on this. Because, wow, it's like the Brady Bunch threw up on that set. But
oh, that's awesome.
The thing about Red Cross is that it's the brothers, these two, lead singer, and I can't think what his name is, but this is Steve McDonald. Steve McDonald has been playing bass for the Melvins. He played on this tour, he played on the previous tour.
And the tour
He's also
before.
the bass player for the punk band Off.
Yep.
But it's so okay, I just saw the Melvins 2 weeks ago. And he's a beautiful man. His long flowing tresses, and he's just a badass.
He's a rock and roll star.
He's a rock and roll star, but it's almost a little hard to wrap your head around the Partridge Family action 90s style going on here versus the Melvins versus Off. That just goes to show that he is a music guy. You know, all these different genres.
I'm not sure if you know, but that record there, I don't have it yet. It's supposed to be coming soon. And because you live in the States and I live in Canada, you get stuff before me sometimes. But that record was supposed to originally be a record store day release for Org Music. And they weren't able to get the records. And I remember like speaking to Rossiter, and he was fucking like really bummed about it. Because, you know, these companies spend a lot of money and resources to make sure that, you know, they have the records there, and they sold 733,000 records this RSD. So you got to strike when the iron is hot. You can say what you want, but it's a big holiday for them, you know. And they wanted to be able to take advantage of that. That didn't happen. So now these records are going to be available in independent stores, but it was originally slated to be an RSD release.
And I know I'm going to show it because people care. The vinyl is really cool. Can you guys see how it's like a deep, deep green? This is showing brighter because its sun is right there, but it's almost black when you pull it out. But it's a solid deep green, which is good. Tie-in, I don't know. I think it works. So just so you know, it's a deep green. And I am really happy to have this. I had fun listening to this. this is good time summer music to me. And
It's
man,
good.
it threw me right back into the 90s. Holy shit. So
It's yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know any Red Cross at all, so it'll be cool. Actually, the Melvins are playing Montreal tomorrow, so I may very well be going to that show. You just kind of gave me. You realize we talk about the Melvins every week, right?
I know, man. I almost hesitated to bring this up because we talk about the Melvins every freaking week. I
Every
guess the Melvins are the patron saints of the Vinyl Junkies podcast. I guess that's
I
just what
nah,
it is.
it's just they just work hard. That's all. They work hard, and my entire work ethic is based on what people like Buzz Osborne and Dale Crover do. They don't stop, and they haven't ever stopped. And they talk about those concerts where, oh yeah, well, it's all really nice because, you know, the audiences are young. We're the only ones getting old. People are still into us. We keep and it's all true. But they never stop talking about those early shows where it's like, oh yeah, okay, well, it's all really nice, Melvins fans. But we remember playing to fucking just a bunch of punks who wanted to kick the shit out of us, and there were just a handful of people, and how, you know, they still talk about how hostile it is, but that's exactly what it is that makes that I respect about Melvins, because they worked. Think about it. They never sold they never went platinum. They never went gold. They never, you know, it was like they went to Atlantic and they, you know, they sold, it's their best records, but, you know, eventually it wasn't worth it for Atlantic either. They did it their way, and every single winter they record an album. And by spring, you hear them talk about the album and it comes out. And by summer, they got a whole bunch of merch posters and a whole bunch of albums. And it's almost like they take this circus road show place to place to place. They get in the van and they tour every year. And that is just, that's putting in the hours, man. That's hard work. They've done it every year. They've earned every last bit of adulation, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I love some Melvins. Anyway, what you had something about Bossa Nova Bacchanal?
I did.
What's that?
Charlie Rouse. It's one of Vinyl Me Please's jazz picks. I think I have it in here. Yes, I do, actually. What they did was they released 1,500 Charlie Rouse records of this year, Bossa Nova Bacchanal, which came out, I believe, in, 62 or something like that. During, really, the period of time when focus was placed on Latin flavor in jazz, okay? So it wasn't, I mean, in this case, you're talking about not Jamaica, but you're talking about Brazil, right? And, you know, people like Dizzy Gillespie and, you know, João Gilberto, who played with Stan Getz and all of this. They were all responsible for bringing that. And there was the movie, you know, that won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, which was Black Orpheus, right? Black Orpheus was very responsible for bringing, for introducing the rest of the world to, you know, to Brazil, to Brazilian culture, to Brazilian festivals, to Brazilian music. And a lot of this stuff was manifesting itself during the early 60s, and everybody was kind of offering their tastes. Charlie Rouse went deep and made sure that he got musicians who really understood the culture and weren't just trying to appropriate it because it was the flavor of the month. So, I mean, he's got Willie Bobo on drums, and he's got all sorts of great percussion. And if you had to compare it, for example, to, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with Getz Gilberto, right? Girl from Ipanema and all that.
Yeah.
And that entire kind of like chill, almost West Coast LA jazz samba. This is energetic. It's peppy. It's the kind of thing that you'll put on, you know, during a backyard barbecue, but rather than just kind of chilling out in a hammock kind of music, it's more the kind of thing where, you know, you'll have a couple of drinks and maybe dance to it a bit. And it's awesome, Kim. It's so awesome.
I love that stuff. You know, all those, the guy at the Vintage Freak, the record store I work at, who does all of our all of our audio equipment repair, fixing and stuff. His name is Francis. He's from Puerto Rico, and he is a big vinyl music junkie, but he is almost entirely focused on Latin music. So every once in a while, he'll pull like that peppier samba or bossa nova or whatever kind of stuff. I mean, his knowledge is vast and deep. And he'll tell me, like, listen to this. And I listen to it. And every time I'm like, God damn, this is really good. All of that, the Latin music, the jazz, that, you know, that 40s, 50s, 60s stuff. Oh my God. And I refuse to completely fall down that rabbit hole because it's very deep. But whenever Francis tells me to listen to something or buy something, I do it.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, you let some labels kind of follow you down the rabbit hole, you know. So Now Again does a lot of that stuff, and you follow them down the rabbit hole. And you know that Blue Note stands for a certain quality. You know it's going to sound a certain way, you know, Van Gelder and so forth. So I mean, in this case, it's cut at 45 RPM on 2LP. Sounds good. It's got the original notes. Good pick. I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to talk about another Texas band, Energy Control Center. But it's your turn, Kim.
Oh, okay. I also, man, seems like a lot, not everything this week has been pop, older pop, or reissue of pop. And I got a beautiful copy of Throwing Muses, The Real
Ooh.
Ramona. I mean, it's the same. It came out of that collection with the Stereo Lab and the Morrissey. The guy, he just takes really good care of his stuff.
That's Kristen Hirsch.
And Tanya Donnelly.
No, isn't Tanya?
Yeah.
Tanya Donnelly's Belly, isn't it? Or is Tanya Donnelly in both?
To form Belly, and Kristen Hirsch is in this, and Kristen did this and the Breeders and solo stuff. So, but this is on. If you put a gun to my head and asked me to pick my all-time favorite label, it would probably be 480. They were on 480. And Throwing Muses were the first American band that were signed to 480 because they're an English label. But this, I found this, and I don't know if I ever actually had this one on vinyl. I have it on CD still, but I played it in the record store a bunch this week, and I had more than one person go, "Who is this? This is really good." And I'd be like, Throwing Muses, you know. And so I turned a bunch of people onto Throwing Muses this week.
Did you have University in that pile? The album University? Yeah, that's the Throwing Muses album I'm looking for. Actually, more so than that. And again, it kind of dovetails into that whole idea of capturing those CDs, like those essential CDs. For me, Throwing Muses would be one of those that I had on CD that I'd love to have. But even more than that, are you familiar with Kristen Hirsch solo? She put out a record called Hips and Makers, which might be her first one.
Yeah, I do know. I don't know if that's her first or not, but yeah, I know that record.
Is that yeah, I was obsessed with a lot of the girl stuff back then. So I listened to a lot of, for example, Tori Amos, and I listened to a lot of Sarah McLachlan and all the rest of that stuff. But I don't listen to a lot of that stuff now. Or if I did, I'll pick a couple of records. But this is just one of those records that I can still say is completely timeless. Like, maybe some Juliana Hatfield records and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to, anything 480 I'm going to buy. And I love Throwing Muses and I knew about them because of 480.
Okay.
But I like the Breeder stuff that Kirsten did with Kim Deal from the Pixies, right? Okay, I'm making sure. And then Tanya did Belly. But this particular album, The Real Ramona, is very, very power pop. But there are absolutely signs of Riot Girl stuff going on in here, in the delivery of the vocals and some of the other stuff too. So if you like pop, power pop, 80s, whatever, and if you like strong female vocals, and if you like the Breeders or Belly or any of those bands, then check out Throwing Muses. They have a decent sized catalog. Also, They were
Yeah.
on this Mortal Coil. 4AD had a super group where they would have
Yeah.
all their 4AD bands come together to do songs, make albums. So Cocteau Twins, blah blah blah. But they did something on this Mortal Coil 2 album. I think it's like Sister or something. Anyway, big fan. I cannot believe I found this and it's in pristine shape. And I listened to it a bunch and it is so good. Throwing
People,
muses, people.
the problem is that when we start talking about our used finds, is that people get all drool worthy and they want the records because they know they're good and they can't find them. And that's why I always try to inject a healthy dose of new stuff that you can find. And
Right.
look, people can say that they're my sponsor, so I'm supposed to talk about it like that. That's not the way it works. Vinyl Me Please, the reason it is that I sing their praises all the time is because they release records like this, the Lightman Plus One Energy Control Center, which is their jazz pick for their subscriptions. They have like their main subscription, and then they have their subscriptions for classics, which is jazz and R&B, and they have hip-hop subscription. Energy Control Center is an album that was put out in 1972 by a drummer in Dallas. I believe it's Dallas, but in the Texas area. I'm pretty sure it's Dallas. And it's an area that wasn't really very, very big in, people don't generally don't associate the civil rights movement with Dallas. And this is one of the guys that was very much there. He came out of, he would write for magazines that were very pro-community, very pro his community. And you see him in the back. He's got this big afro. He's a drummer. And these records are impossible to come by. I mean, it's local stuff, right? So Now Again comes out and they put it out. And I trust Agon pretty much implicitly, just anything he puts out. So they put this thing out. And if I had to describe it, think of Ornette Coleman. There's some Ornette Coleman in there. There's definitely a ton of Charles Earland. Okay, so it's got that blaxploitation vibe, but it's got some Ornette Coleman, even some Mingus. It sounds like it's just the sounds of blackness. Somehow he brings it all together, and he's a drummer, right? So he's the composer, but there's some deep composition there, and it gets pretty deeply just Afrocentric. There's a blaxploitation vibe to it, but there's just, as somebody whose favorite music is 65 to 75 black music, this is exactly in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Like I'm the type of person who will buy any blaxploitation, even the shitty ones. I'll buy them all. This record here, this Energy Control Center, right? Lightman Plus One, it would have never crossed my path if it wouldn't have been released by Now Again. And it's that good. You take all of the descriptions that I said and kind of just somehow put it through a funkadelic, psychedelic vibe. And I never heard it before, okay? I never heard it before. I had heard of the band, I knew, but I'm not usually the type of guy who's a deep digger. I'm not willing to spend several $100s on anything. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I'm not that guy. I want the records, but I'm happy with reissues. And this is it. And it's just one of those things for jazz people. I'm not sure that, it's part of the classics subscription. I'm not sure you'd call it a classics because most of us don't know it existed, but it's fucking good. So those of you that like spiritual jazz, check out this gatefold. The gatefold is basically just black. None so black, Kim. There's nothing in the middle. None so black.
Can it be blacker?
So
that's cool. I'm intrigued.
I would tell you you would like it. I'm absolutely certain that you would like it. And it's Now Again, right? So that already tells you something. If you see it, get it. Very pleased. Your turn.
Speaking of, I guess, reissues, this is on Radiation Roots. I saw Jackie Mittoo, the Keyboard King, Reggae. This is brand new, so it's been reissued. I didn't know that this had been reissued, and I don't know if they're doing more of Jackie Mittoo or not.
By who?
Radiation Roots, 1976, Third World, blah, 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 2016. Actually, this might have been out for a little bit. but made in Jamaica. I guess Radiation Roots might be a Jamaican label. So for those of you who don't know who Jackie Mittoo is, he's a reggae keyboardist.
Yep.
Played, I think they have a statue of him in Kingston. He played with everybody, and did solo stuff and things like that. I mean, look at this guy. Look, oh my God, so hot.
Styling, right?
Oh my God, just for real. This whole cover. So this is fucking amazing. Highly recommended. I mean, I have a weakness for organ keyboard kind of stuff anyway, and I have a huge weakness for reggae, so everything just checks every box.
Do you like Horace Andy, Melodica?
Yeah.
I love that stuff too, man. Yeah,
so good.
I think I'm like you. When it comes to Jackie Mittoo, I'll pretty much buy anything because I know what it's going to be. You know, Horace Andy is another one. Yellow Man. For me, it's all about Yellow Man. He put out 1 million albums, and I'm on the hunt to get all 1 million of them.
Oh my God, it's so hard to find. It is so hard to find Yellow Man.
They've been re-releasing it, and it's not that expensive. If I'm not wrong,
I haven't even seen the reissues, but I guess I could order them.
The reissues, I think they're VP, and VP is not. You know, listen, they're cheap reissues. I'm not going to lie to you, but they're not expensive either. And if you want the material, it's there. And there's another thing that always needs to be taken into consideration when it comes to reggae. A lot of reggae pressings to begin with were horrible. Horrible. Think about it. They're being pressed in Jamaica. Just, I mean, you know.
On ancient equipment, doing everything they could just to get the music
under the hot sun, recycled. You know, it's just let's not get too prissy when it comes to our Jamaican records. They sound like shit because that's the music. You know, it's just they were produced that way. So I'm not that picky. Particular.
I'm not that either. I'm not that way about Nigerian either. The conditions that had to be what they were recorded in. I'm talking about like the soundboards and the booth and the microphone, and then actually trying to get it pressed and stuff. It was really, really hard, and they made the music, they got the music out there, but don't expect studio Dark Side of the Moon quiet technical virtuosity, and nor should it be. I don't care about that shit. I want the music. So this is awesome.
I described that to that's I think one of the things that I liked so much about doing the genre show, the Africa show with Grant Austin, is that we really were able to delve into that kind of thing, and we had the same type of conversation where it's like, look, a lot of this stuff was available only locally. We're lucky that labels like Mr. Bongo and Soundway and these guys are releasing this, because we would never, this stuff would never see the light of day if it wasn't for these labels, you know. And if you're expecting some kind of huge sound quality, that's just not going to happen, because they were pressed locally for local people. And, you know, it wasn't all over the radio. So basically, if you wanted the music, people went out and they bought the 45s. A lot of the time, it was only on 45. And, yeah, we're going to be doing another one also. Actually, we're going to be doing another genre show with Shane. Can I announce that now? I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I love him.
I really loved doing the show with Shane, with Grant, the Africa show, and we're gonna do another one. Okay. So I guess today is as good a time as any to tell you that there's going to be much reggae, much Jamaica happening in the month of June, because Trojan Records is celebrating their 50th anniversary. And I am not at liberty to spill the beans, but I promise that there are many good reggae-related announcements to come. Believe me, reggae fans will have so much to talk about and so much to buy and so much to dig into and so much to watch, so much. It'll blow your mind. And Vinyl Junkies is in the middle of all this. So the week, I believe, of June 25th, the last week of June, we will be doing, Shane and I will be doing a reggae episode, and we will have all sorts of new material to tell you about, and I will have announcements of stuff that I haven't even told him yet. And I have some records to tell him about that I know. Now, Shane, there's two people, when I think of reggae, there are two people I think of right away. There's Jeff Way, you know, who works, who's like part owner of a publishing company, Third Sight, and worked with Ninja Tune. He's got an amazing collection of 45s. And then there's Shane in our group, Hartman, who's just, his posts are just a history lesson every time. And for him, it seems like his 65 to 75 seems to be his sweet spot when it comes to Jamaica. He knows it so much better than anyone that I know. And I'm sitting on this, okay, the show's going to happen, like I said, probably the Wednesday of that last week. Kim, I'm sitting on a record that I know he's going to know. But it's fucking deep. It's deep. So when you think Trojan, and I want to tell him, because I know the guy's going to explode and he's going to have stories. It's impossible he doesn't. And I can't wait for that to happen because I want it to happen during the show. Because I want you guys to just, I want the audience to be able to just draw from his knowledge and his enthusiasm. You know, that's what this is supposed to be about. But Kim, we're going to talk about some good reggae records. Good reggae records. It's coming.
Yeah. It's good. It's cool. I mean, you know, I worked in that reggae club for years. I could love me some reggae.
You were there during the dance hall years, right? The ragamuffin dance hall years?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Jaw Red.
Yeah.
On our group. He's a deep well of, I think he DJs reggae.
Yes, he does.
So we've got a lot of really good reggae knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
In Vinyl Junkies.
Yeah. No, the thing is, Shane writes about it a lot, and he really goes into it, and it shows he's very passionate about it. And he's a deep well of knowledge, and for me, that's what the show's about. It's supposed to be about the music, and we're going to have so many stories. I can't wait for it to happen. And we'll have new material, and I'm working on prizes also for you guys. Okay, so lots of good stuff coming up.
Cool.
You want to go forward once you can talk, and then let's say I'm going to go into Dr. Octagon eventually. What's your next one? What's up?
Well, okay. So yesterday I took a day and did stuff just that I wanted to do because I'm always working. And so I went to a new record store that I knew about, but I have not managed to get to. And I live between Dallas and Fort Worth. It's called Mid-Cities. This record store is in Fort Worth, and I'm technically a little closer to Fort Worth than Dallas. And I like Fort Worth better than I like Dallas. Anyway, it's called Panther City Vinyl. And I knew that they're in kind of a temporary space right now. They're moving across the street in a building that's being built. So I finally went yesterday. I introduced myself to one of the owners and the guys. And now I hope I don't forget their names. There's Ted, Dan, and Ken. And the first thing I saw when I walked in was this Peter Murphy Deep poster, like right by the door. And I was like, oh my God. And he sold it to me. Peter Murphy, you guys know I have, a little bit of an obsession. So that's cool, right? New Peter Murphy Deep poster that has been around since the 90s, early 90s. And he told, I was talking to the guys, and one of my regulars at my store goes to Panther City and told them about our podcast. So the guys at Panther City have seen these videos, which was really
awesome.
Whoa, what?
Awesome.
Weird. Okay. That was I was like, what? Okay. And we talked forever. Those guys have worked in record stores since the 80s, like Peaches, Tower, Virgin, Sound Warehouse.
You know what? I would like so much to make it just a regular feature to shout out these independent stores. And it's funny because I'm going to shout out an independent store too. And Kim and I, we haven't spoken all week. She's been working and I've been handling my stuff. And so it's really now. And it's funny how we both converged on shouting out the independents. Really, guys, that's culture, man. That's a cultural center. And they matter. So I received probably the kindest words I've received up to now. One of the things that I like most. But at one point, I received on my Instagram account. I have an Instagram account, vinyljunkies.co. Same thing, right? And I get a message from Flashlight Vinyl saying, "Have a good week," or "Have a great week, Sam." Now, on Facebook, I'm Jeremy Ron. The only people who know me as Sam is either people who know me personally or people who watch the show, because you guys don't call me Jeremy Ron, you call me Sam, right?
Right.
So this guy is like, okay, so he's got to be somebody that watches the show. But when I communicate on the group, it's always as Jeremy Ron. So I don't know this person. He just wished me this, so the only thing I know is he's listening. He's listening to the show because that's where he must be getting Sam from. But I had no idea who he was, so I didn't know how to answer him. I answer, you want to say something nice, just, to acknowledge, hey, cool, man, you watched the show. I'm glad. You listened to the show. I'm glad. So it's just pretty generic. Have a killer weekend and sell a bunch of great records. Thank you for doing what you do. Generic, but still, I mean it, right?
Right.
And then he said something that made my week, and it was, all the love. Your podcast makes my week complete. And he signed it off, Raul. And I know for me, my pride is not to be the needle drop in Fantano. My pride is if there are record people who live for this music and they fucking sacrifice and they do 60-hour weeks to run record stores, and they're the ones listening, and they're the ones who are telling me that I make their week, or we make their week. Dude, mission fucking accomplished. That's our people. These are our people. So you know what, Raul? It's us, okay, that thank you. Once again, I would like to say Flashlight Vinyl in Minneapolis voted something or other as a good... Is it any good? Is it a good record store? Should I go if I'm ever in Minneapolis? Flashlight Vinyl, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm glad we make your week. That's why we do it. As a matter of fact, one of the big reasons that we're so big on getting these advanced copies is because we know that a lot of the record stores, it's not just the guys who buy online, right? A lot of the record stores also watch the show, and they order. So if we have the records early, it allows them to place an order and make sure that those records are stocked when they come out on the Friday. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I was blown away that such a cool record store, and he watches our stuff. I was just like, that is so cool. That Jackie Minto I got at Panther City Vinyl in Fort Worth. He had it. So
I'd have picked that up immediately as well.
Oh yeah, right. I was like, yeah, that one's going home with me.
Yeah. I don't leave any of that reggae behind. For me, my big period, like I say, Shane is 65 to 75. He likes a lot of the Palma label stuff. He likes a lot of the stuff like Byron Lee, Dragonaires, like a lot of the earlier ska stuff. You see, I'm more of a once the music started hitting Haile Selassie and and marijuana and Rastafari started coming in, that's when I really started paying attention, because it was all about the vibe for me, and it's just that. I like to smoke pot, Kim. I like to smoke pot.
I liked the whole Haile Selassie, Rastafari. I found it very, very interesting. Plus the whole Africa connection was real strong for me. So one other thing I want to say about that Panther City Vinyl, because it was I had this long, awesome conversation with those guys. They're amazing. That's going to be one of my favorite record stores, I can tell. But we were talking about Holy Grails, and how I had been looking specifically for this Lonely as an Eyesore 4AD compilation. Was my biggest one forever, and I found it like a year and a half ago at another local record store. And I was talking about how when I finally got it after 28 years of looking at it, that I literally had to put my head between my knees because I thought I was going to pass out. And he said, oh, we have a copy of that. And I was like, what? So he has, I think it's a Canadian press, and he pulled it out. So I don't buy duplicates. I bought the shit out of this one, because this is my all-time holiest of holy grails. Lonely as an Eyesore, 4AD, multiple bands like Cocteau Twins and Clan of Zymox and stuff like that. But it's just so funny that it took me so long to find that record.
And then it just shows up.
And now I've got a second one. Out of nowhere. Dude. So now I instantly have, even if I hadn't already started to fall in love with those guys in that shop, this was a seal. This sealed the deal. They'll always be one of my favorites.
Deep digs, right? Deep digs.
Oh my God.
I'm going to finish off with a new one. And, you know, if we actually did this properly and tried to make all the hooky stuff happen, we'd be talking about the big titles that just came out first, because that's the hot stuff, right? So this is one of the hot titles, Dr. Octagon, a new release, 2018, called Moose Bumps. What's it called?
Moose Bumps, yeah.
An exploration modern day horrorpilation or something like this. But
Yeah.
they originally put out an album in like early 2000s or something, and who is it? It's Cool Keith and Dan the Automator and DJ Qbert. And
Okay, yeah.
turntable gymnastics, and it's like an alter ego. He's kind of like Cool Keith adopts this almost funkadelic persona of this traveling intergalactic gynecologist. And now, I never had the original. I never had the original record, and you may have seen this, just this, like, you know, this kind of like Dr. Skull holding another skull type of thing. And it's widely regarded as just a masterpiece, a great record, but I never had it. It's just, again, one of those records that I never got to. But I got this, and I know Dr. Octagon enough to know that, you know, when me and Matt did our last VMP shop, Dr. Octagon was one of the ones that I wanted immediately. So it arrives. And I love the record. I love it so much so that I took the download code, because I want to make sure that I do listen to it in the car and just listen to the record as often as I can and really absorb it. And the turntable gymnastics are awesome, and the flows are awesome, and there's an old school vibe to the entire thing. And then I read the reviews, and Pitchfork gives it a 67, and AllMusic gives it a 60, and some other fucking thing gives it a 64, and they're all basically saying, yeah, okay, whatever, but there's nothing new. This is a complete rehash, retread, and, you know, if you really want the real thing, what you do is you got to listen to the original one, because this one, they're basically saying that it doesn't stack up, and it's like, all right, well, you know, thanks a lot. You know what? Dr. Octagon haven't exactly released 1,000 records, okay?
Yeah.
So this is really only the second full length, number one. And number two, I can only speak for myself as somebody who did not know Dr. Octagon before I put this new one on, this 2018 one on. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It made me go back, yes, but that's why I want Cool Keith, and that's why I want Qbert. So for me, the turntable gymnastics and the crab technique and all that, they're almost making it sound like, oh, fuck, are you doing that again? It's like, hey, fuck you. Did you ever think that maybe it was never broken, so maybe doing it is cool? And so it's like, I don't like Pitchfork, man. I don't like Pitchfork because they somehow think that they're fucking... I 6.7, fuck you, okay? Just, I listened to it with fresh ears, and I listened to it as somebody who did not know this masterpiece that was the first
record. So they're going to turn people... Oh, God, it drives me crazy.
So another artist isn't supposed to put anything out because, oh, well, you know what? It wasn't rumors. Go fuck yourself. Seriously, it's like... And you sound so elitist. You sound so elitist. It's like, oh, well... You know, it's always like those guys, oh, no, the early days, I used to like Iron Maiden before they existed. I used to like Iron Maiden during the Soundhouse tapes. Fuck you, you used to listen to Iron Maiden during the Soundhouse tapes. Nobody listened to them. People somehow need to, I don't know, make their opinion more important than others. As a fan of this kind of music, Kim, I'm almost done with my rant. As a fan of this kind of music, I loved the record. I loved it. I have nothing to compare it against, so I can't talk about rehash, and maybe it is, but I, as a music lover, dropped the needle on this, and I played it 3 times. And after playing it 3 times, I realized that side C and D are my favorite ones. That's when it really starts taking off. So take that for whatever it is, but the critics don't like it. This is a horrible record if you go to Pitchfork, and AllMusic thinks it's a big retread also. I liked it.
I definitely think that there's a place and a need for artistic criticism in the world. However, I really, really don't like when it's a rating system. I'm happy to listen to what your thoughts are, but if you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or a 5-star out of 5-star, or a 67% out of 100, it's so subjective.
It is.
It just drives me batshit. And you know what? Like, there's stuff that I don't like. Like, there's some Metallica that I really don't like. However, because I don't like it, doesn't invalidate it or make it less possible or possible for somebody, like for you, for it to be your favorite thing.
Who makes anybody an arbiter of taste?
Oh my God. For real, 67%. Go.
Wait, no, go fuck yourself.
Like that may turn off somebody like you who never heard Dr. Octagon and be like, well, I'm just not going to waste my time then at all.
Yeah.
And then miss out on something totally awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe this album isn't as awesome or whatever as the first album, but that's your own personal taste.
And maybe
it is,
maybe my non-DJ ass hasn't listened to enough of that music to say, you know what? I'm not going to play this record for my daughter because this is a fucking retread. Why should I listen to it? You know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to look for the record that everybody says is good because everybody says it's good. And I'm going to not trust my ears. I'm going to trust Pitchfork and I'm going to trust all. Fuck you. Really. The record sounds good. And I know that I'm going to play it for my daughter. That's why I downloaded it. It's like, hey, kid, you know turntables? Okay? There's people that make these sounds with them. Check what it sounds like. It's like, this is just somebody scratching the record. And it's like, it's going to make an awesome conversation. Whether the album is a retread. I don't like snobs, man. Sorry. I'll exhale now. I'll exhale.
It drives me insane too. And I mean, let people like what they like. Good Lord. And I'm also, okay, enough with this is my guilty pleasure, or I'm not going to talk about this. I guarantee you, when you get older, you're not going to give a shit what people think about you listening to
at
ABBA.
all.
At all.
So if you're in your 20s right now, or you're in your teens and you're watching this, or even in your 30s, and you're trying to put your record collection around what's cool and what's not,
and being ashamed about something that you like,
don't be ashamed of anything. I'm looking right into the camera. Don't be ashamed of anything.
Don't.
Zero fucks given. Listen to what you want to listen to, and if your friends don't like it, and if they think it's not cool, and if they're the types of people who start talking about when it sucked and when you know what, your friends might just be assholes, because when you walk into somebody's house, you don't fucking talk about how ugly the curtains are. If you do, you might just be an asshole. People are allowed to like what they like. Period.
Let people like things.
I have winners.
Okay.
I'm actually happy at the way we did it. I'm doing 5 winners today. I was doing it every week, and I just felt there was something that made me uneasy about it, because I always wanted it to be about the show and not about winning stuff. So right. I stopped, not because I can get as many prizes as I want. Okay, and Vinyl Me Please are very, very good about it. So it's like, we haven't given prizes away in the last 6 weeks. For me to announce 5 now is fine, you know. And if I would have announced a dozen, it would have been fine too. But it's just, that's not what this is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about the music. And if people are watching or people are sharing to win a prize, I appreciate it and it counts. But ultimately, that's not what this. We're trying to share our love for music, and we're trying to create content that connects. And it's those people that connect that matter most to me. So 6 or 7 weeks pass, and, you know, a dozen episodes, and I hadn't picked a winner in forever. And I just went back and I started just picking winners according to substantive comments and whatever. And I picked 5, and it felt better, because the fact that 6 or 7 weeks went by meant that some people forgot to share. And you know what? I'm kind of comfortable with that. Does that make sense? I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you're sharing to win, you're one of those people that shares to win. You're one of those, you know, it's kind of like a sweepstakes people.
Which is fine.
Which is fine.
Which
is fine, but that's not our goal. That's not why we do this. So we don't want, it's like, that's not what we're going after. It's fine, but it's not what we're going after. This way it makes me feel like, you know, I kind of cherry-picked some of the best stuff. One thing was a little disturbing, though. Kim, it's Mother's Day. I really tried to find women who commented. I couldn't. It's all fucking guys. It's all guys. I couldn't find women. I wanted to just thematically, just to say, you know what? It's Mother's Day. Let's show some estrogen love, and God bless him for fucking taking care of us. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't. So I had to choose 4 males and 1 female for another reason, and I'm going to name them now. Can I?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Congratulations, Carlos Santana. The reason you won is because you did share and comment, and your name is Carlos Santana. That's why I chose you. Your name is Carlos Santana. It's enough. It's enough. You deserve a record. That was the only criteria. No Alice, you win too. Courtesy of Vinyl Me Please again. Tune in next Wednesday. We're doing a show with Matt, VMP versus VJ, round 7. Open up the shop. You will be able to pick from those records. So No Alice, you're winner number 2. Winner number 3, Emial Buis, or Bus, or I can't pronounce it, but we'll write it down. Emial, I have no clue who you are, but you want a record, so we will be getting in touch with you. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing and commenting. Evan McWhirter of California. Evan McWhirter wins a record too. I love you, Evan. Congratulations. And the final one is a woman who helped me go through the fire, just like you did, Kim. Galen Williams, who's actually Billy Field's wife and an artist, and suffers from bipolar, and she was there for me, and she's a mother. And she doesn't comment on anything. She shares, but she doesn't comment on anything because she doesn't talk to anybody. She's just, you know. But we had to throw a woman in, right? Didn't we?
Yes, I wish more women would comment, speak up. We're not unicorns. Well, we are unicorns, but you know what I mean. Speak up.
Kim
Comment.
is living proof that you can be a complete music nerd and know your shit. Not that fake, you know, I'm going to put it on for everybody shit, but really know your shit and have and still not possess testicles. It's possible. Love you, Kim. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. Okay, see you next time.